Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final week, the final overview for approaching the end of the term. Posting this on December 11th. It's going to be just an overview this week, going off these last component assignments. There is nothing that would get posted on the 18th. The final submissions are due by the 17th on here. But I did have one thing that I wanted to make an open contingent for some of you. There are the normal things that are up here. Rewrites due on the 12th. I did have all those files up. Anybody who wants to do a rewrite, obviously. You're on the memoir for the summary and outline and rough draft, the feedback files that are on those. Refer to anything that was marked there and on the final draft. Look over those. If there was anything that you feel that you want to try and get back additional points for on those, you can just go ahead and submit these. I will automatically be reviewing this file here at the end of the week before final grades are entered for a memoir rewrite on those. As long as you addressed everything that I mentioned on those with the feedback, memoir summary, outline, the rough draft, and final draft. If those things are all addressed, then I have a tendency to, give you the majority of points, if not all of them, back on those, as long as they were just those minor things. For those of you who had a bunch of sentence level things, remember it depends on whether or not you got a diagnostic, diagnostic recommendation for tutoring. If you had a YTR 1, 2, or 3, everyone had to have the one tutoring session for the semester. That was everything required. Everyone required for the term to at least do one face-to-face or online. Now, nearing the end of the semester, I do have more students buying in on this and getting their extra credit points for that. Remember, even for the one required, if you just got a YTR 1, that's still extra credit for doing it, but students do not get additional credit. If they don't do it, they actually get a point deduction in the attendance participation category. Now, having said that, for those of you who do address those things and you went to tutoring, addressed all those, it is possible to get all the points back on the memoir rewrite, okay? If you meet all those rewrite, the commentary there. The research paper outline with abstract and works cited, pages 10 sources. There was a point of confusion on one of them that said something about 5 on those sources. Guys, if you did it on the summary thesis, fantastic. I didn't take anything away, whether that was there or not. And then on the primary points of support with works cited, I only have a few of you left to post for those on there. And then I did extend this to the 13th because I do have 4 of you in this section that I need to, I still want to get those, but you should still be able to move forward. If you get your summary and working thesis approved and the grade feedback response file on there, you should be able to move forward into the outline with abstract. Remember, for this piece, you guys make sure you're downloading the template and you're following all the requirements on here, right? We want to make sure that we clearly understand this. If you did your summary and working thesis portion correct on that first file, that's these 2 categories. Those are these 2 categories here. Then you'd just be adding a general and a specific statement on yours, right? So if you're using music therapy, some kind of opening line like this, and then the specific statement on that. The body paragraphs, just remember on here, guys, everyone wants to have 2 quotes in the body paragraphs, depending on how you broke yours up. Some of you had it approved with, most of you have 3 body paragraphs. A couple of students, I believe, have 4 in this one. I don't think I ended up with anybody with just 2. But in the outline, make sure that you're filling all these categories in, giving me enough supporting details. Remember, you're writing in full sentences. I left this open for a couple days. I had a few of you with a few issues come up, a couple more COVID issues, a couple more illnesses that seem flu-related, a couple of their family and work issues. So I can extend it to the 13th. That's fine. I just have to make sure that the drafting of this, the actual essay, is in by the due date. All right? So make sure that you guys have those submitted. Remember that the last thing on here is after the conclusion is the abstract. You're going to make sure you give these component pieces in this portion. Unlike the intro, you can say this paper covers this paper covers that. It just still has to remain in third person and objective. But an abstract can specifically use that type of wording. Now, the works cited page, guys, I did go through pretty much everyone's. Most of you have legitimate sourcing. Some of you do not. Make sure that you're getting it only from OCC databases of full text available peer-reviewed sources. And most of you guys, I went through and verified. Most of you are giving me web or print at the end, but your listing for MLA 8th edition does have a DOI. I commented on some of these explicitly, but Got a number of you that are just doing a different citation. I don't know why, okay? But make sure that you give me a DOI if it's available. I will mark down on those if there is a legitimate one available with that, because that includes the time stamping and those things for that assignment submission piece or whatever you were referencing. All right, so that one, guys, obviously due now the 13th. I'll still accept them to that till then. I did close the window on the late submission stuff, at least in terms of a free open submission. That was this one that I posted. I left it up here on the home page for you still to read through. I had left this up here for late submissions on these. If you did this, fantastic. I'm already marking those submissions, and I did get a number of messages from students who took advantage of this and got late and missing work in, and the communications with us back and forth were very productive, and I'm glad that you did. And I know, and I'm happy for those of you who got past some of those circumstances, and I also appreciate those of you who sent me the confirmation things on your extenuating circumstances, the doctor's notes, the work notes, a couple of different things on those. I appreciate that. I did have that as an open window for consideration. For those of you who actually had documentation for those, obviously it gets a little bit further as opposed to just being for partial credit. I will consider it for more than just partial on those. And for some of these guys, I addressed this before. If it was an issue with tech or software, we've worked those things out, and I've been accepting those from you guys on them. And I didn't take additional points away on final draft submissions. Now, the extra credit confirmation stuff, I need these by the 13th, though. These ASC tutoring and success seminars for students who have them, so I can confirm by that date that I have those out of the way, and anything else I'm considering for the term is after I have those credit forms. The research paper with abstract. Now, this is due on the 17th. If a student still, if you do feel that you're not going to make it through the term and you want to request WS grade, mean withdrawal stopped attending, this is where you would post that request to me. Make sure you've read through these instructions and the implications. It would not impact the GPA, but it can have financial aid implications, especially if you're retaking a course. So you should follow these instructions and check with an advisor, okay? But I know I heard from 2 of you already that something happened with in personal life things. You just couldn't finish the semester out. We tried working on some extensions, and that didn't make much difference. So I understand you want to be considered for those. I can't guarantee, but I will take the consideration. If I can at all justify it because of the amount of work you have submitted for the semester, I will be glad to put a WS as opposed to a failing grade, especially for those of you who tried doing the work all semester. On the other component pieces here, the request for WS, I added in rhetorical analysis rewrite, and this is for anybody on these. I still have a couple of years to post these, but I already put the summary and outline, rough draft ones up, and for the most part, I didn't take further points away. Most of you still ended up right around the same or a point or 2 higher from the rough or summary outline or both in terms of percentage on the grade. Some of you, you fixed a number of those things already, so I didn't take further away. Matter of fact, some of you I just referred back to the comments on summary and outline for rhetorical analysis. And as long as those things were just minor issues, as long as they weren't parts of the primary requirements, like naming rhetorical devices versus the types of appeals, like the rhetorical concepts, as long as there wasn't a huge discrepancy there, I didn't take further points away on those, particularly because of software and tech issues. But for students who do want to make an attempt, and you did look over that feedback, and you did get I have a couple of you who are in the 19 to 21 out of 25 category on those. If you do understand those marks and you'd like the opportunity on that, I decided to open this up too, especially given what we went through in the semester. Feel free, do that and submit these. I will start checking these on the 18th. There's no need to send me an additional message here. For the late and missing work, I still expect messaging on there and confirmation of the tutoring situations, okay? So the final thing that's actually needs to be written is doing the essay itself with the abstract, making sure you read through and follow all of these requirements, right? Many of these things are just reiterations that we've been touching on all term, and I did include a student sample paper here. I want to point some things out. This is it's actually parts of two different students, and there are a couple of discrepancies here that I want to point out, that between this and a perfect paper. But this would be the MLA formatting, style, and structure of a research paper. It's verging between a paper and a research report. So I would recommend, you don't have to do this, but to organize your content, remember in the outline the abstract came last. In the draft, the abstract comes first, because it's done after the report is completed or your paper is completed, and you know what your research and findings will tell the reader. So you can see from the wording here, the research below focuses on the significant benefits of daily exercise. This knowledge is an important inclusion in the public. You'll notice, guys, in this framing, if you answered all of those things on the outline, if you filled in these categories, it results in this framing of an abstract. Oakland Community College is listed here in full name, and then the abbreviation comes in parentheses right after OCC. This is how you abbreviate, guys. This was one of the ones that was detailed in the chapter on MLA. But if you're using something like this, remember, full name first, abbreviation and parenthetical, and then you can use the abbreviation for the rest of the paper. In other words, you can use OCC without the parentheses, and the reader will know you're referring to what you abbreviated with earlier. There is an introduction subheading, so you have your title at the top here centered. Everything's Times New Roman 12-point font. The only difference here is that subheadings, I would prefer you guys include these. Make them the subheading name, followed by a colon, and then you go down to the next line and you still indent each paragraph that follows, okay? So the other thing to note here is these are typically in bold, while the rest of this document is not, because those are subheadings. So here you have the abstract, you have the introduction, you have body 1, you'll note the topic sentences and things here. You'll note down here body 2, body 3, and then the conclusion. Following the conclusion, there's a works cited page in MLA format. You'll note that this student has a few that do not have a DOI, and that's because they are part of a publication that is a volume in series, which print number pages and all those things out of volumes. Down here, some of those do still end up with DOI, so make sure that you do give me the correct one, folks. I don't need web or print to follow it, not typically with MLA 8th edition, okay? But you'll note this is in alphabetical order. All the first lines are justified to the left. Every line after is a hanging indent, and this starts on a page of its own after the conclusion, okay? Note these different things on here, folks. I also want to note, I think there was one error in one of the citation things. Note that you got to follow that quote format, and you'll see if you read through here, this student does the combination of these two from these students. I include this because the framing of their quotes is done perfectly throughout. One example of this can be seen in the following. That's a major support. For instance, then they give the quote followed by the citation. Here is one error in citation. There should be no period. Terminal punctuation only goes after the citation. Okay? Just so no one mistakes that. But giving a claim as a major support, followed up by a support of the quote and the citation, and then your defense and or explanation of the quote. Make sure you followed that all the way through. All right? Everybody, the primary on this, if I have 2 quotes per paragraph for support, that should be enough. Try to stick within the word and page count things. If you want to use substantially more quotes, remember that I would expect the page and word count to increase. If it becomes more and more of outside sourcing for this to make your points in the research, I'd expect to see more of your work and ideas for analysis. So make sure you understand there's a balance between how much support we do and do not use. All right? I look forward to seeing the final work, folks. I appreciate those of you who have held on and been able to do the work with me week to week, and I'm glad that we've had a lot of communication here the last month over these things. Some of these things have been a little bit more difficult to deal with than others, but yeah, out of the entire class, a majority of students are making it over the finish line with flying colors. So make sure that you make contact with me if any of those things are confusing, folks. Instant messaging at the top. Remember, in the class list, it'll simply have my name listed there. There was another student who had a question about something of that ended up sending me an instant message. You asked if this was the professor. Yes, it says my name, Benjamin Martin, as student on there.